You don't understand the rules in Dirt Oval? Don't get me started on that subject. There's a local track, but there are so many classes. Yes, that's one of the biggest pet peeves of mine, is the lack of awareness of rules and regulations and finding said information. It's not readily available. You have to dig for it, basically. Anyhow, we'll chat about that. Anywho, we're cleaning up my desk first. We'll talk about that. I promise. Okay, why is this not wanting to spin? Okay. Let me get the printer going first, because I'm having technical difficulties here. I don't know where you live, and I don't know how much personal information you want to give out, Spectre, but I don't have a problem helping you if you are more than willing to give me some information. And what I mean by helping you is I will dig and see if I can't find the rules online. So a lot of tracks, okay, let's start with the problem. There's no national sanctioned body that controls Dirt Oval when it comes to racing. So, for example, on-road car uses IFMAR and ROAR, and ROAR is also a ROAR. Is also a off-road sanctioning body that controls and regulates the rules for classes. It's a national sanctioned event, basically, or sanctioned body. So they have a set of rules that almost every community follows, because it's a sanctioned body that's controlling those rules. Dirt Oval doesn't have that. So what your rules are for your local track are different than my local laws are for my local tracks. And I don't have a local track, so the local track to me is 2 hours away, and I can pick a direction, and I can go east or I can go west. And unfortunately, they run different rules for their track if I go to one or the other. And sometimes it's simply just a motor change, which that makes sense, in my opinion. Because if it's a small indoor track, you don't need a ginormous motor. You don't. But if it's a big outdoor track, you need a bigger motor. Like, sometimes, like, rules like that make sense. So, that's what I said. Don't get me started about rules with oval racing, because it's like the Wild Wild West. And it's their rules or it's nobody's rules, because nobody can get on the same page. Anywho, if you want, share me the local track, and we'll do some research live. I gotta figure this out, though. And it's driving me nuts. I don't know why it's doing it. I understand the concept. I just forget how to fix it. It's a setting change somewhere. And what I'm getting is a layer. And you can see this visible line. There you go. This visible line, it's the same height as this top layer. So this top layer, I know what happens is as it prints it cools down. So then it prints this lip. And I'm trying to not get that. And I forget the settings that I changed. Long story short, it's pissing me off. Okay. We'll circle back to Radio Hill Raceway, so give me a minute. Give me like 5 minutes. And we'll go down that rabbit hole. This is the part and I need to change settings. And I don't remember. I've managed to figure this out in the past. I forget. How to fix layer lines on large flat surface. Nope. Nope. This is it. How to eliminate shrink lines. This is what I was looking for. I just forgot the technical name. So you can see what I'm talking about. It's the same issue. Using texture, okay. I added a fillet to try to fix that. That didn't fix it. Disconnecting interior, most effective. What is this?
That there's this basically nothing. It's pretty much gone, which is a very simple fix because you can just create an offset from whatever your interior profile is, extrude that down 1 millimeter, and then the whole lines can disappear. And it will work on anybody's printer and on most
What?
materials because you've disconnected all of that material pulling in from the wall. Working on that, I'm a little bit lazy and sometimes doing an offset isn't quite right and it does kind of potentially impact strength. So I was wondering, could you just relieve the stress enough that it would eliminate the whole lines by just cutting out like a simple circle cutout inside of there? Now instead of having straight rastering lines straight across here, you only have the ones on the outer edge, so there's not as much material to pull in on it. But ultimately, this didn't really do anything. With all that material just in contact with it, any material behind the wall created a difference to where you still have pretty demonstrable hull lines there that pretty much match the original, even though you've removed a lot of these stresses inside of there because these center ones are no longer connected to the outer ones.
No, this isn't. That's not what I was looking for. I've watched a video on this before and fixed
You
it.
have it, I have it, we all hate it. Weird wall or hull line solutions and their combinations. I call them decoupling, shrink control, and you guessed it, crime. Oh, and weakens the
I
part
think this was a video.
for the upper section, when using classic wall generation, we can reduce our line width slightly. This will lead to a little filling line, which we can remove by setting filter out tiny gaps to a high enough value. We again have a small gap in the upper section, which still connects at the very top. These are the three sections. We'll look at the results in a minute, but what if we can't change the design? The first logical approach is reducing the top and infill overlap for walls, which is normally set to 15%. Setting it to 0.
Okay, let's go back to this. Let's change this back to normal. And I'm gonna change my walls. And then what was we looking for? There was something somewhere to get rid of it. Yeah, I found it on YouTube too. I forget. So it's infill, infill wall overlap, infill wall. Infill wall overlap. What did we say that was? Negative 15 or 0? I think it was negative 15%.
Or for example, even negative values generates a gap to our walls. Be careful. Even 0% weakens the part considerably. For the upper section, when using classic wall generation, we can reduce our line width considerably. For the upper section, when using classic wall generation, we can reduce our line width slightly. This
line width under quality is 0.34. Quality. Inner wall 0.34. I think I know this fixed it because I've printed this before.
Line, which we can remove by setting filter out tiny gap all sides. The
inner, outer, inner. Yep, that's right. Wall surfaces. So that's gonna be under quality. Quality. Inner, outer, inner. Yep, that was the other one I changed.
Cooling and shrinking from all sides. The print improvement is slightly decoupled as well. If we truly want to decouple our wall improvement is achieved by uniform print speeds. Setting everything to the outer wall speed will result in more even flow and shrinkage across the part. Surprisingly, another big quality improvement.
Huh, I would have never guessed that. Other layer speeds, so everything needs to match the outer wall. Okay, I don't think I tried that one, and I'm fine with changing it because I really don't care how long this takes. Speed. So that's gonna be 200. Oops. That's gonna be 200, 200, 200. Sure, that looks good.
Is achieved by uniform print speeds. Setting everything to the outer wall speed.
I try to use 4 plus walls or maybe perimeter first, then enter.
For figuring
Yeah.
this one out. But now, back to Grandpa's shaking print showcase. We can immediately see how high ambient temperature and slope the Libre features include sketch surface wrapping, mechanical assembly type of.
I don't care about the rest of this. I didn't do all this stuff. Okay, that should be good enough. I think that'll fix everything I need to do. Let's slice it. It's already printed. It's already up to temp. So let's go ahead and print. Send. Confirm. It's now 2-hour print. I have to get this out like today. Oh, stupid mic. As soon as I moved it, I unplugged it. I need a new microphone. I need a new camera. I need everything. I need a whole new streaming setup, basically, besides a computer. Okay. So it's already up to temp because I was preheating this, so this should not take long to start. So we'll let it do its thing. So back to your question, Radio Hill Raceway on Facebook. Facebook. Search Radio Hill Raceway. There's your first problem. Well, let me rephrase that. There's your first problem. Northeastern folks do oval racing totally different than almost the rest of the world, from my experience. And then let's go to pinned posts. No. Here's your rules. So they are running a foam tire. Wait a minute. 17.5 Sprint, Sportsman's EDM, small block EDM, big block EDM, and late models. Those are all foam tire. And then you have rubber tire, EDM, WDRA rolls. Oh, that's an EDM class. Then you have stock EDM, which is those rules for stock EDM. Street stock, which is Chili Bowl rules. Chili Bowl's kind of becoming the new standard. Then you have Sprint, which falls under those rules. Lozy falls under that rule. And Mud Boss is that rule. And then you have... Wait a minute. No, that's Lozy Sprint. Then you have Mud Boss. Then you have... This is where this gets confusing. Race 48 and never raced before. Sure, that makes sense. Then you have Novice, which is kind of the entry level for Mud Boss. Then you have Outlaw 10.5. And then you have Mud Boss, which follows Salvus rules. Pretty standard. My question is, what do you have questions for me about rules and regulations for Dirt Oval? It looks like a nice track. I'll say that. Yeah, well, actually, it looks like a pretty nice track. Looks like medium to higher bite clay. So probably slicks for tires, on rubber tires, that is. Yeah, I mean, that's what I would expect for a indoor dirt oval track. So what question do you have for me about rolls? You don't understand a lot of it, okay? If I get a B6D and get your conversion kit, what classes can I run? I'm looking. I'm going to go with the only thing you can probably run that I create, if you went with something that I sell, would be the Sprint 360 Sprint Rolls, which is a 13.5 Blinky or a 17.5 boosted. So the Sprint car, and honestly, that is not where I would suggest you start if you're trying to get into dirt oval racing. Let's have a serious discussion about experience and expectations. How much, if you're truly interested in racing, and this is something you really want to do, and you are willing to spend the money, and you want to commit to doing it and having some fun, how much experience do you have with RC? I know that you've tinkered around and you've been around the block, so I know you understand some basic stuff. But I don't know how much experience you have with racing and your competitiveness and your willingness to learn. All will it all links to where I would suggest you start. Because if it was me, and what I would suggest is probably different than you or Jim Bob or Joe or Steve or whoever off the corner. A lot of it's linked to how much you know and how much you want to get into it will depend on really where I suggest you start. Because I can sell you a late model, but it's not foam tire. I can sell you a sprint car, but it's not foam tire. I could sell you one of these sprint cars, because that's what I run. They don't run midgets, so I don't see midgets on here at all. You could run anything else. I just don't know what your expectations are. Well, that's kind of where my hint is what do you want to do? Because don't worry about me. I don't want you to feel obligated that you have to buy one of my kits, because I honestly, my kits are not the entry level kit for anybody just to start racing with. Now, I'm all for you buying a B6D 6 dot whatever and going and having some fun, and that's usually where I suggest most people start. So, competitive, not very much. I'm a pessimistic. I don't like to drive, so driving there, I don't know if I'll do that weekly. Okay. How much my follow-up questions to you, do you understand setup changes and like if you add more right rear to a car, it makes the car tighter or looser? Or do you understand the concept of my car's loose, I need to tighten it, or my car's too tight and I need to loosen it? Do you understand the basics? Or is it all new? Yeah, you don't want to spend 2K to race dirt oval. That's welcome to RC racing in general. I will say I'm going to tread lightly with this subject because I don't want you to feel obligated. What I'm advising you to do before you spend a single penny, they do. Well, they absolutely do. So, okay. Hold on. Hold that thought. This is a prime example of why people spend $2,000 to race RC cars. Right here. This guy. This car. This is why people spend $2,000. And I'm going to explain really fast. I mean, if you understand setups for off-road, there's guides out there that you could fix for oval racing, and it's not the end of the world. But I'm going to go down this rabbit hole with you. So when you buy a sprint car, you are buying two ways you can go about doing this. You can buy somebody that's selling the full kit, or you can buy an off-road buggy like what you said and buy a conversion kit to put on it. A buggy as a slider, I'm gonna say it's $150 to $200. Let's just say $200. I know you can buy a builder's kit for $200. Then you buy my kit, which is like another $150 or $200. I forget now. So now you're talking $400. That's just for a chassis. That doesn't include anything else. And that's a low number, might I add. You go and buy a GFRP that's probably, I'm going to say $500-600 just for a roller. Just a bare chassis. So let's say you can get into one of these for, oh, I don't know. Let's call it $500. Last time you was there, people had 20 nickel metal hydrate battery packs, 5 chargers, 20 to 30 motors. Yeah, well, those days are long gone. Long gone. Long gone. You're gonna buy the chassis and the car plain, $500. You're gonna spend, depending on the class. So if you go with their sprint car, and let's say you go with the 17.5 boosted, which I would tell you probably just start with the 13.5 blinky because it's cheaper. Let's just assume you go with the blinky route. You're going to spend $125 on a motor and a speed controller. So now you're at $625. You're going to need a steering servo that's going to be about $75 to $100. So that's $775. You're going to need a battery. That's going to be another $50 to $100. So let's just call it $50. So that's what is that? $825. You're going to need a set of tires and wheels, and you'll probably go through those pretty quickly. So let's say you go through one set of tires and wheels is probably going to cost you $50. So that's going to be another $900. You're going to need a body. That's going to be another probably $50 to $75. So that you're talking $1,000. And that doesn't include the receiver and a radio, which is going to cost you another $150. Which, no matter really what car you have, you're going to have that anyway. And then you're going to need some kind of timing system for it. So depending on what type of timing loop they use, that's going to cost you another $100. So you're talking $1,200. Like, you can see it adds up stupid fast if you go one of these custom build style. That alone is why I don't suggest anybody. Well, LRP hasn't been in business for God knows how long now. 15 years. So it's outdated. I mean, will it work? It might. I don't know. But it won't work for the blinky system. It doesn't meet the rule regulations for blinky. That's why the just stock systems are really nice. My advice, because you have some knowledge of racing, is either I hate saying this, start with Mud Boss and start in Hold on. Let me move you back over here. You could start in the novice class with Mud Boss and then move to the Mud Boss, which is the Salvus rules. I am not a fan of Mud Boss at all. They drive like trucks and they don't turn worth a shit. So it forces you to learn bad driving habits to drive it fast. That is hands down the cheapest, quickest, simplest way you can make laps. Yeah, that's a 16-year-old speed controller. Will it work? Probably will. But it was made for on-road touring cars. It might work, but this is going to limit what classes you can run. So I am not familiar, but let's look up this rule here, because this is what I'm leaning on advising you to go to. But let's start very basic. Out of all of these classes, you would start under the Mud Boss novice class, and then you would move to the standard Mud Boss, which is following Salvus rules. I am not a fan of Mud Boss. Like I said, they drive terrible. Way too many people in the Northeast treat Mud Bosses like they're the god's best thing since sliced bread, and they are flat out garbage Traxxas junk. You can't tune them. You're so limited on what you can and can't do with the Mud Boss. It really doesn't help you learn how to set up a car. It only teaches you bad habits with radio on how to physically drive the car by throwing in the corner, slamming on the brakes, and forcing the car to break free and then stabbing the throttle and counting to 3 before it actually does anything because the radio has such a terrible delay. That is why I'm not a fan of Mud Bosses. So if you don't want to go that route, my personal opinion would be the next option is street stock. I would also advise you, like I said, before you spend any money, go to this track and find out what they run. Actually, let's look. I don't know what system they use, but let's look it up. My RC Scoring Pro. Let's see if they're on here. They're either on this transponder system or they're on my laps, and I'll find either one. Radio Hill Raceway. Radio Hill Raceway. They are not here. Radio Hill? Not here. Okay, so then they are on iLaps. No, they're on my laps. Which then is... oh, why did my camera just die? I don't remember. Anywho, nope. Oh, I forget the web portal. There we go. No. Why am I drawing a brain fart as to where this portal is for my laps? Brain fart. Brain fart. Why? I haven't done a My Lap system in forever. I forget the website. Oh, good grief. Where is it? Did they change the site and I don't remember where it is now? Give me a minute. I'm looking. Results. They changed it to Speed Hive? They did. That's why I couldn't find it. What did I say it was? Radio Hill? Um, this does not look right. This is not what I remember it to be. Okay, let me go back to here. Let me see if I can't figure this out. Uh, Actually, if I hear one of these, I'll figure it out. It's my laps because there's no visual. Yeah. So they're using the more expensive transponder system, or are they even using a system? Yeah, they are because it's right there. Live RC. That's what I was looking for. Man, it's been a hot minute since I've done this. I'm telling you, this is not my wheelhouse because I haven't been to a live RC event in a long time. Live results. Radio Hill Raceway. There we go. So, according to this, they ran. Looks like they only run on Saturdays. And the highest event they had was 112 people. Let's pick Christmas. Well, wait a minute. 35. Let's pick Christmas. And the only reason I'm doing this is because this is the smallest group of cars they had. And the reason why we're doing this is I want to see what they're actually racing. Yeah, they use the MyLaps, yes. Which actually you can run an MRT transponder and they're much cheaper. Anywho. So they run Losi NASCARs. That's actually probably where I would suggest for anybody new. If you just want to make some laps and have some fun, that's actually a really good class to start. I totally forgot about NASCAR. $200, send it. Be done with it. They run Outlaw Mud Boss. They run Losi Sprint Car. That's actually probably another decent option if you really want to go that route. That's a box stock class. That's another good option. Stock EDM, Mud Boss, Rubber Tire EDM, Novice Mud Boss. So they do have one class of street stocks. Oh, wait a minute. No, they had a B main and an A main. Okay. I would suggest street stock. Losi Sprint Car or Losi NASCAR. That's the three that I would suggest. Based on what I'm seeing here. They do have a novice mud boss class. You can go that route too. I don't suggest it. This is the data I wanted to see. I wanted to see how many people showed up, how many classes they have, and what they actively race. Because if you notice, there is no there's no class here for like late models. There's no class here for looks like foam tire sprint cars. They're not on here. There's a bunch of classes that they offer that they don't have any racers racing. So that's another big key. So Street stock, that's going to be your fancy option. Losi Sprint Car is going to be your middle option. And then Losi NASCAR is your cheap option. You pick. Doesn't matter to me. Let me see if I can find you some videos. So you have an idea of what we're looking at. That's EDM. That's your Losi. That's your Losi Sprint Cars. No, you don't want the SR10. That's a waste of money. So that's your sprint car. Losi Sprints. That's Mud Boss. I'm glad to see people can't drive these just like they can anywhere else in the world. This is your NASCARs. I'm telling you right now, that class would be fun on that track. Those are good cars. They're tanks. Absolute units. Sad part is you're going to spend just as much money on a transponder to race on it than in the rest of the car. That's going to be EDMs. That's foam tire EDMs. That's probably modified, like their open class. That's going to be Outlaw Sprints. No, that's foam tire sprint. Wait a minute. I'm pretty sure that's a foam tire. I want to pause it. Where can I pause this at? Yeah, that looks like foam tires. Oh, they do have late models. Those are the big boys there. That's a $1,200 class. That's your street stocks. And they'll run just as fast. This is my favorite class to race, is these cars. So, Chili Bowl rules. Let's have that discussion. Because they follow what's called Chili Bowl rules, which is, like I said, a sanctioned event. RC Chili Bowl Street Stock rules. So they are open brushed motors. What? That's not it. That's AI's wrong. RC Chili Bowl rules. They are a factory-based off-road buggy. They do allow the SR10, which I don't suggest. Chassis must remain stock. No aftermarket. No aftermarket non-OEM upgrades except for RPM brand parts designed for the chassis. OEM option parts sold. Companies designed for these cars are allowed. That's a big one there. Big bore shafts and threads are allowed. That's fine. Springs can be any form. That's fine. Rear-wheel drive only. That's fine. Rear or mid-motor. That's fine. Adjustable rear arms are not allowed. That's probably a good thing for you. Weight must be within. Okay, so yeah, that's your options. You can run. No. Has to be an off-road buggy. Let me read this. So the team associated SR10 with a different speed controller and motor. Technically, yes, but I don't suggest the SR10. I would suggest buying a B6.1 or newer buggy. Here's my argument. They don't say what rules the motor is. Oh, wait a minute. They do down here. Open motor and ESC? Since when? When did this class become open motor? Oh my god. That's non-sponsored, that's why. I hate I hate this. Let's see what they post. Any roar pro. Okay, so that right there is not open motor. You are talking 30. Well, yeah, I know I am. Welcome to streaming. We're talking about racing, RC racing. So they are allowing any roar approved 17.5 motor. Wait a minute. So they're saying 17.5 blinky because that's a big difference. Bodies must have windows. Okay, cannot be decked. That's a big thing. Any of the shark bodies or McAllister bodies, as long as they are not decked. Okay, that's a huge thing. So that's why I'm checking this. Open tires, that's fine. What motor? 17.5 blinky. Okay. Here's what I would suggest. If it was me, just stock 17.5. Go and buy this. That's your speed controller and motor. Oh, wait a minute. That says 21.5, but you want the 17.5 version. So, whichever. They all look the same, but it's the 17.5. So that's the part number you want. HWA 38020372. That is the hands down most economical speed controller and motor you're going to find, and that will keep up with 99.999% of everybody out there, because you're not going to be worried about speed. You're going to be worried about consistency more than anything else, and the Just Stocks honestly are not that bad, comparably speaking. So that's your motor and speed controller that you're going to need. You're going to need to find a used B6.1 or newer. I would suggest a B6.4 or a 6.3 if you can find one. A B6.3 or a 6.4. They have the newer rear hubs and stuff. Then you're going to need a steering servo. You're going to need a shorty or a low profile high speed servo. Keyword there is you want low profile and you're going to want high speed. I typically stay around the Savox worlds, but it all comes down to personal preference. And you're also going to want Metal Gear, preferably. So like I said, you're going to spend $100 on a steering servo. You can go cheaper. You can get them on Amazon. I bought some on AliExpress, I think it was, or Temu, that actually have been really well. Let me look. So, low profile, high speed servo. Something like that, I would not be afraid of. Like, these are not low profile. You can tell by how high these are and how short these are. That's the difference. And a lot of this comes down to just weight. With 10 scale, you don't need a ton of power. And that's what these kilogram represent, is how much power they have, like torque. You don't need a high number. You just need something that doesn't weigh a shit ton, because weight matters in the oval world. So I've ran plastic casings. Like, that's a plastic case. That probably would do you just fine to start with. I'm a big fan of going with the metal casing with the metal gears. You pay for what you get, and when you hit something hard, you're going to break. And usually when you break, you're going to snap one of these little tabs off, or you'll snap the snout, like the nose of the steering servo. So that's that. You're going to need a battery. So that's going to be a 2S LiPo Shorty battery. I will give you my obligational speech of I am sponsored by Genace batteries. But I also run Genace batteries before I was sponsored by them, so that's personal preference. Buy what you want. So 2S LiPo Shorty. Protex are great. Like something like that will do you just fine. 4800 milliamps is probably way too big. It'll do everything that you need to do and then some. 4400s are fine. This is typically what I race, somewhere around like these Genace red lines. For $4,200, $50, or 4,200 for $50. I would run that all day long. You have an Airtronics 9. Let me look. That's probably old school and probably too slow. Airtronics 94 359. Yeah, that won't even fit in your buggy. You don't have any room. So let me show you. Here's the street stock. Switch you over. This is my pride and joy. This is a Mr. Customs body that is decked. Let me go get you my other body. Hold on, so I can tell you the difference. Hold on. Two different bodies. We're gonna start. I'm gonna show you everything about this, so just hang tight. Okay. Maybe. Bueller. Okay. This is a non-decked body. This is a shark body. I absolutely love shark bodies. Yeah, the T4s are bigger. That's why it fits. Hold on. This is a non-decked body. This is a decked body. The difference is this is wide open. That's why it's called decked. So it's like a late model body. This generates a lot more downforce because the airflow flows through the window and gets on to the rear wing. These are a lot faster, typically, than non-decked bodies. This body has been an absolute unit of a body and has been through war and back and still looks amazing. This is a shark body. I suggest RC Shark bodies for any of your oval needs. Mr. Customs, I would say, is probably a second for like brand support, but I really love shark bodies. If you're going down this route, I would suggest the shark bodies. Pick one that you like. I don't think there's really any difference from one to the other. I could be wrong, but that's the bodies. So then here's the chassis of here's the difference. This is a standard size servo. That is a shorty. If I line this up, And if I try to put this right on top of it, see how much more room this takes up? So now you start taking up space on the nose, and they're also heavy. There's a lot more to this than this little guy. That's the difference of a standard versus a low profile. This is a B6.4 chassis. This is a Hobbywing Just Stock ESC, which is what the same thing I showed you. That is a Just Stock 17.5 motor that I showed you. That's an old Trinity battery that probably needs to be replaced. Then this is the transponder that we run locally for me. These are called MyLaps, but in your case, you're going to want to buy a MyLaps transponder or an MRT. They are red. And you can buy them in black too, but the MRTs are cheaper and they will work on a 2-wire system. And they're about half the price. And this is what they look like. They'll say MRT on the top, and they work just fine. I don't have any issues with them. I run these on MyLaps systems. I still have MyLaps. I have some. I sold 2 of them recently. I still have an old ABM one, which still works. Well, it's not necessarily just for more weight. It doesn't really give you more steering. It's just more weight on the nose that you don't want. The key to this class is being as light as possible while still being regulation-wise on weight. My class allows adjustable arms, but yours does not, so I'm not going to talk about that. You're just going to run stock arms. So this is your motor, this is the speed controller you need. You're going to need a receiver for your radio. You're going to need a low profile. I highly suggest low profile. Tires, that's going to come down to that track. I would start with super soft radars from Raw Speed, or J Concepts, I think, makes an Aqua. That's probably going to be a good option to start with their versions. Proline makes a version that has a super soft compound. I would suggest starting with something that has some treads, even though they're probably running slicks, and so do I. But as you notice, you get enough laps on them, they're going to get slicks anyway. The treaded tires have less, and I'm using this term loosely, less rubber. The internal carcass of the tire is actually smaller on off-road tires with treads than slicks. They make the carcass thicker on slick tires. So these actually work better because they have less rubber. They grip up better, basically. That's really about it. And then you're going to need custom work big bore springs. That's what these are. And Custom Works is an oval brand. But this is my favorite class. Oh, and you'll need a McAllister body kit. That's what this is. So the McAllister body kit is this piece of carbon, body posts, and then this piece is Kydex that mounts to the front shock tower, and then it sandwiches to the bottom as well. So the bottom plate, so it sandwiches together. And then this piece, so all of this is Kydex, so it's plastic. And then you bolt on 2 body posts through here that mounts to the body. And then I run foam on the front, and that keeps your body from buckling and folding underneath. This will save your car from breaking a bunch of arms and saves your nose from getting destroyed on your body. So when you're hitting a car parked sideways because they're idiots and can't drive and you didn't see them, this takes all the abuse. That's why my bodies look as good as they do for as many races that I have, is because of this foam piece. People don't realize that this is huge. And this is just shipping foam. Weighs like nothing. Closed cell foam. I hope that helps you. My conversion kits don't come with arms. But you can't run my conversion kit with the bombers or street stocks is what they're calling them. I call them bombers, but everybody else calls them something different. Now you can start with this class and then a year from now say, okay, I want to go faster and I want to go with the sprint car, then you can use this, strip it apart, buy my conversion kit, and put all of this on the conversion. Shit, I just lost a body clip. Where did it go? Man, I swear to God, I lose absolutely everything in this garage. Seriously, I know where it went, and it's right in front of me. Man, I'm telling you what. But for bang for the buck and speed, this is where it's at, in my opinion. It's the cheapest way to get you into racing that is not box stock. Still allows you to do a bunch of options for adjustments and allows you to grow as a driver because it gives you a bunch of options for adjustability, and then it gives you the option to build a midget out of it or a sprint car out of it. The Losi sprints are nice. I will say they're not bad. They're heavy though. They're heavy. That's probably my biggest complaint. But I mean, beggars can't be choosers. So, how much is a Losi box stock? Losi sprint car, A main hobbies. $350. It's actually not bad. What's gonna kill you? That right there. Because you have to run their battery, I believe, to run, which then means you have to buy a charger to go with it. Don't even waste your time looking at DDMs. That's actually not a. I mean, like I said, that's not a bad class. I'm not. I'm not against you going that as your first option. That's gonna cost you probably close to the same. Hold on, I gotta use the restroom. I'll be right back. I'm back. I am gonna give you the caveat of I'm very biased and very brand loyal. I absolutely hate Horizon Hobby with a passion because they're not helping the industry by buying everybody and their brother and then not doing anything to support said brands. For example, they bought Lozy and turned it into a they basically stopped the racer support and just made a bunch of ready to run box stock cars, and they stopped making parts for the racing community. So that's why I'm not a huge fan of anything owned by Horizon Hobby. So for me to suggest going with something like this is huge. But the problem with going this option is you have to run their battery charger and their battery. And I don't know if they allow, let me look. I don't know if they allow different batteries. They probably don't. Did I close out? Oh god, what is this? What in the actual fuck are we doing? And this... Oh no. It's a crawler gold pan. And that's kind of what's happening with Associated right now. Is they've, for some reason, decided to go down this kick of releasing a bunch of old shit. And it drives me nuts. Like, this does not need to exist. Somebody's wasting way too much time. Whatever. I'm not going down this rampage. Anywho, all the manufacturers have problems. I don't have an issue with that. My problem is, and I understand why it exists. So this, oh, well, hold on. We need to go back and figure out your I need to figure out the rules for this to figure out what battery they use for hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna take a wild stab in the dark and say it's it's gonna be stock battery. Lozy Sprint box stock Mud Boss battery. Changing battery connectors on the ESC allowed. Okay, that's a huge one. If you don't want to run, um, oh my god, my brain's not working. If you don't want to run Spectrum battery charger and batteries, then you can change that. So that's a huge plus. So that helps you, especially if you already have a battery charger, which I'm assuming you do. The question is what kind of charger and how good is it? That's the next question. But Mud Boss batteries, they're not demanding. I forget. I forget what the Mud Boss rules are for batteries because it's been a hot minute since I've raced Mud Boss. 5200 milliamp 50C battery is the rule. So the batteries are going to be a lot cheaper if you go aftermarket. And you just need a battery charger. That's not it. Car 5200. It was only 35 amps. It'd work. I think a lot of people run these Z batteries. You have a ready 1416 C2L dual battery charger. I think that's shouldn't have any issues with that one. 1416. Yeah, that's fine. That'll do what you need to do. Yep. Yeah, you're fine. I mean, the discharge sucks, and honestly, 14 amps ain't great, but it'll do what you need to do. So you just need a battery to plug into that. Is that an XT60? That's only for the input. So you're gonna need whatever 4mm pins to whatever plug you decide to run for your battery. So that means you don't want to go Spectrum for batteries. So that means you're gonna want to find something with probably an XT60 plug on the end of it, or an EC, whatever the EC5 plugs. That's your two options. I mean, you can go with Dean's, but I don't know too many people that runs Dean's anymore. 2S battery. I'm not a fan of Dean's anymore because it's so many knockoffs that they're just garbage. But something like that, send it. $30 for a pair of them. EC3 plug. I personally like XT60s, so I would go that route. And then just swap out the plug on your radio. So it has the appropriate XT60 plug on the end of it. That's really the only modification that you'd have to do to your car if you went the sprint car, is to go that option. I have these. These are actually, I've got these for free for reviews. They're actually pretty good batteries. I don't know. I don't remember how good they are if you race them, but I think a lot of people run the Z batteries. I mean, they're all coming from the same place. So basically, just pick one. And I've got the gold dots 5200s. I've got a bunch of those too. I used to get them for free all the time. I don't know if Ready sells I don't think Riddy sells one that fits this because you have to do. It has to be a stick pack. Let me look. A main. 2S. Let's just search to see if they even have something remotely comparable. So you're gonna need. You're looking for. Let's just look for them all. You're gonna need a stick pack. Search. You're gonna need 2S. And then you're going to need to be under. They don't have capacity as a limit, so let's just search by price. Lowest price. That's your first option. That would work. Oh, let's just look at Reedy first. So Reedy sells. That's too big. That won't work. Too small. That won't work. Too much amp draw. That won't work. Too big. Too big. Won't fit. Too big. Too big. Too big. Too big. They don't sell one that's compatible. That's the only one that might work. No, it's too big. It's 5,400. It has to be 5,200, I believe. Let me make sure I'm right. Yeah, 5,200 is the rule. So 5,400 is too big. So you can really does not sell one that fits the Mud Boss or that fits that class for sprint car. I would not sleep on ProTech. So my advice, Gen Ace, ProTech. We already looked up Reedy, but they're actually good, so I'd look up them. Trinity used to make good ones, but they probably don't have anything anymore that fits. That's probably about the only brands that I would trust. If you're truly like looking for a good quality brand. I'm looking to see what options you have. So that's probably a high-end Mud Boss pack. Is that ProTech? Right here, one of these two. That's the XT60, so that's the one that I would go with. Like, again, you're talking $100 now. So now you're getting into the fancy pants world of batteries. So that one or that one. And that's an old battery pack. They haven't made white battery packs in ages for Trinity. I'm just warning you. So I would not suggest those. Stay away from Trinity. Well, that's the newer branding. That's weird. Why did they must have went back to white casings. I don't follow that brand hardly anymore since they've been sold. So Trinity used to be my go-to. They've been around forever. I mean, you used to race, you know what I mean. Like Trinity used to be the dominant out there. They're still competitive. I don't like the brand as a whole since it's been sold. I hope this helps. If you decide to go with something, go to Discord. I can chat with you there. But if you decide to go the street stock route, I am more than willing to offer you my building. What's the word I'm looking for? Service that I provide to people. So I'll charge you a flat rate to build the car. I'll source all the parts and then charge you whatever the parts are plus my time and labor. Else you not want to get into it. It's not. Getting into it is one of the most frustrating things in the world. This is why I started the video series on how to get into RC racing. I'm up to like video 5, and I still haven't talked about anything specific to actually being on the track yet. This is all pre getting to the track. So yes. But like I said, if you want to get into it, I'll be more than glad to help you. If you want me to build it, I'm more than willing to build you a car. I have no problem doing that. Okay, I'm going to wait and see if you have any more questions besides it helps you to not want to get into it. Don't be afraid. That's the best thing I can tell you. I can build you a street stock car based off of a B6 series chassis, absolutely. And if that's something you want to go, join the Discord server so I can talk with you via chat so you'll get quicker responses. And I will work with you on if you have a budget. And we'll go from there. I'm going to warn you, if I build it, it's not going to be cheap. Unless your budget is very, very cheap. And then we'll discuss that too. But I'm not going to ream you, but I have to make some money because I'm going to be investing a ton of time, and I'm assuming you're probably going to want me to paint the body too. I only have one rule. If I'm painting bodies, it's got to be green. I'm joking. But yes, join the Discord, please. I think you're already in there. I think you've already been bugging me on there before in the past. No, well, I won't say bugging. Sorry, wrong choice of words. Your budget is that you work 8 to 12 hours a week. Let me hop off here. I'm going to go scour Facebook and see how much I can find a used B6 series buggy costs. And I'll give you a rough idea of where I think you will be at for cost. I don't have Discord on this computer. Swear to God, I'm getting sick. On the side note, it's been true for 2 months. I mean, I believe you. I absolutely believe you. I'm just going to warn you. A buggy street stock's not... It's kind of your mid-priced car. Your sprint cars... Your sprint car and your Lousy NASCAR are your 2 cheapest options to get in and just have fun. Less rules, less regulations, all that fun jazz. So, I did get the spoiler working. Spoiler alert. So if you're in the Discord, you would have already seen it. But I'll give you a demonstration real fast. So we fixed it. This is the spool that I ran yesterday. Looks amazing, actually. Nice and smooth all the way across. Yeah. There you go. There's nothing on this, so it's not spooled, but you get the idea. I'll put this spool on here so you can see it. There you go. And then, like, that spool would go there. Actually works really well. I still haven't fixed the filament stop switch. I don't know what's up with that. I'm about to give up on it, but it does function. So, yeah. That was a good build. I really enjoyed this, actually. And that's half speed. That's full speed. That's exactly half. You joined like 200 Discord channels. It's RC Cincinnati. Somebody's actually in the voice channel. Is that you? Uh-oh. Mic check? Mic check? I've never been in voice with this one. Allowed it this time. There we go. I don't know how to... Oh, it's okay. Never mind. Hello.
Hello.
That's probably easier to work with, isn't it?
Yeah. Don't forget to finish your YouTube stream.
No, you're fine. I'm done. I'm hopping off the stream, so... Okay,